Thank you, Andrew. Thank you all. First of all, I'd like to say that it's a pleasure to be here after 4 years. It's been a long time. A lot of things have changed. The market has changed. But the leasing companies seem to have become even stronger, I would say. Yes, there have been a lot of challenges, both in terms of stiff competition, given that the ship owners are now very, very strong. And there's also, there are also some global events which have affected the ship financing landscape. Nevertheless, I do recall a few years ago we used to attend panel discussions globally, and Chinese leasing was part of the alternative finance session. Now, I mean, I was in Greece with Kevin 3 weeks ago, and every year since 2017-18, Chinese leasing has its own separate panel session, which is a testament to the fact that it's not an alternative financing. It's actually now become mainstream financing. We've also seen a lot of new players coming into the market. We've seen the teams of the existing players growing. We've seen the budgets continue to be very, very demanding, I would say. So it's all looking promising in a very tough environment in terms of competition. If anybody wants to start to give me a comment, how has 2023 been? Whether you expect more deals until the end of the year, and if so, whether people should start calling you. Channing, would you like to start since you are?
Okay. Thanks, Chris. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Channing Wang from BOCOM Leasing, but I'm based in Hamburg office. To be honest, actually, this is the first time I join a money panel at home in Shanghai. We see each other many times in Europe events. So it's a great honor to join the panel here with leaders and the experts of the Chinese ship leasing companies here. Actually, yeah, for 2023, from our own perspective, from BOCOM Leasing, we think this is not an easy year, definitely, but to be honest, I think every year for the ship financiers, it's not an easy year. This is a job full of challenges. But fortunately, it looks like we are more and more used to the challenges now. So at least for our BOCOM Leasing in the past, in 2023, I think we did very well. So by the end of last quarter, by the end of October, we have completed the new drawdown around $4 billion. So, but that not means we don't have rooms for new deals, new transactions till the end of this year, because we have a budget at the beginning of each year. We got a budget from the top management team, but that's just an indicative bottom line, what we need to accomplish every year. So we are encouraged to exceed this budget, so we still have some rooms to ink more deals. Thank you.
Thank you, Channing. Ling?
Yes, hello. First of all, I just want to say thanks to Marine Money for inviting me to this event. It is a great honor, and also it is a great honor to join this panel moderated by our very familiar friend, Chris. And I'll just come to this question. Our observation of 2023, when we started this year, we were anticipating some difficulties in meeting the budget because the market was actually very good, but the ship owners were very cash rich. So given the capacity of the shipyards, we were not expecting a lot of new orderings. But now we are coming to the end of this year, and I have to say this is going to be another very good year. Last year we had a record year. I think this year and it's going to be ballpark at the same level, even though we still have a few more months, 2 months to go. like Changzhen said, for the Chinese leasing houses, the budget is actually just the floor. So we are encouraged to go more, to do more than budgeted. And for us, I think the budget or the appetite itself is not a problem to do more deals by the end of this year. But because documentation takes time, so this is probably one of the biggest challenges to get the deal done by the end of the year. So yeah, we still have our room, and we are still working very hard to accomplish this year.
Thank you, Ling. Mr. Yuan.
好，因为大家下午好啊，这是上海，我想中文我能更好的表达。 所以大家请原谅我用中文，那么就辛苦传译，辛苦一下，好吧？那么我们是什么？我是来自于普英租赁的延中路，我们是从18年开始做航运业务的，比较惨，刚做了1年多，就实际上刚刚起步就来了疫情了。那么我们是3年在痛苦的这种疫情当中度过来的，但是所幸我们通过这个。 视频通过电子邮件跟国外的客户接触呢，还算顺畅。那么5年下来呢，我们现在是大约总的资产大约是300个亿。那我们现在呢，就是船舶呢是120多条，应该说发展呢还是比较快，那么具体到23年呢，我们现在看了一下，我们应该是在过去的5年当中，我们是发展最快的1年。 市场是很艰难，但是23年我盘了一下，我们可以达到人民币的投放80个亿，这已经创了记录了。我觉得原因呢，就是不是市场好做，而是就是我们有一些积累，原来的新造船的一些积累，那么今年投放。还有一个呢，就是有一些老的客户，对我们的工作态度吧，对我们的工作方式比较认可。 所以呢，就是有一些还掉的，那么我们又开始了新的一些业务，所以这样的话呢，我们的整个的发展呢还是比较快的。那么具体到24年呢，我觉得这是一个周期性的行业。那么现在大家都看到了，这个周期实际上可能对融资机构并不是特别友好，那么我们碰到了很多困难。但是呢，我觉得这个事情呢。 我们在市场好的时候有市场好的机会，市场差的时候有市场差的机会，关键看你怎么调整自己，因势而变，你总能发展到自己的业务机会。谢谢。
Thank you, Mr. Yuan. Yes, so we're going to speak about 2024. I am of the opinion that there's a very strong order book in certain sectors. Which will definitely help the leasing companies because I think the type of financings that these people require is very suitable to what you offer. But going back to 2023, Mr. Wang Zhao, so if you want to say a few things about how AVIC's year has been and whether there's any room for any more deals for this year.
Thanks, Chris. And first, I need to say thank you to Marumane for inviting AVIC Leasing to this forum and inviting me to this panel. Thank you. And back to Chris' question. Long time no see, Chris, by the way. Yeah, this year is the same as years before for AVIC and for me. In fact, you know, as my peer said before, to meet the budget is a big part of our job, but it's not the whole thing, you know. Another most important part is to meet the requirements or demand of my clients of the market. And there's also always be room, you know, for my clients and for the market if they really have some demands or requirements. If leasing is always be happy to, you know, meet the requirements and the demand. And back to the part of the question this year to me, you know, is good year, healthy, you know, grow old, but not too old, you know. But for my company, for the leasing part, you know, we feel happy, you know, to work the more cases with my clients and did very new friends and get the relationship back to some old friends. So good year. Thank you.
Thank you, James. You've made some investments on a global basis. We've seen some new people being added. Has it been a busy 2023?
Yeah, I think 2023, from our perspective, is the year that everything is returned to normal, so to speak. We're all here together now after 4 years of being apart, and even though all my esteemed guests up here were busy during COVID, it was a period where it was more traditional tonnage done on the sale-leaseback market, and maybe less so on the larger, heavier infrastructure projects. Cruise, of course, went away. Aviation went away. But now we're seeing that coming back because there's been a lot of repayments of leases during the last couple of years, especially basically because the shipping markets have been so strong, and it's not that necessarily the lease transaction have been so expensive. It's just clients have just repaid because they have nothing else to do with the cash. So what's the number one thing to do? Repay debt. And but of course, as been said here, there's been new debt drawn, so that's good to balance. But I don't think, I'm not going to challenge anyone on it, but I don't think the portfolios have grown a lot in the last 2 years. Been maintained, but not grown. And we believe over the next 2-3 years, it'll grow because of these larger projects will be back in demand again.
Okay, thank you. Ling, going back to you, for next year, are things looking promising?
I am reasonably optimistic because we do expect a lot of competition, and as we discussed just now, the shipyard is very much full. So the capacity-wise, we do not see a lot of new orderings. However, we do have quite a few number of transactions committed, especially on the LNG sector. So this gives us a comfort. And next year, I think it's going to be another very challenging but very exciting year.
You, Johnny, for BOCOM?
Okay. I fully agree with Ms. Zhou. Actually, from BOCOM Leasing, I don't think we have any surprise for next year. I think we will have similar budget in the shipping business. But for the market, actually, we can see that next year, 2024, would be a big delivery year for the box vessels. A massive of new orders will be delivered from feeder to post-Panamax, so every segment. But we cannot see a high demand for the finance because looks like the owners, especially some top lenders, they would to consume their own huge cash on their book first. So this is I think it's a big segment, but looks like it's a big challenge for the financiers. But for another sector is also a star for the big deliveries is the very large LNG carriers. We saw that a lot of owners, they are enjoying the high market, historical high market of the LNG freight now. But it looks like they don't want to fix the very long-term long-term time charter for their new assets. Maybe they just want to put their new vessels into a 2 or 3 years short-term, medium-term time charter to enjoy the historical super profit with a high rate. But for us, if we want to deliver, we want to proceed new deals in this field, I think the long-term employment is critical for us. So this is also challenging. For the bulkers, tankers, personally, from my personal perspective, I think it's they are very closely related to some geopolitical issues, such like why the crisis in the East Europe, in the Middle East will go. So it's not easy. We can see some opportunities. We will work hard to face to the challenges as Mr. Zhou said.
Yeah, on the geopolitical side, I mean, these issues, they tend to help the ship owners rather than, yes, so Mr. Yuan, any sector, I know you spoke about 2020 and 2024, any sector that you're interested in investing in 2024, and if you want to say any sector that you don't want to invest, maybe.
其实所有的 sector 都有机会的啊，我觉得无论是散机油气，我觉得都有机会的。那么今天我发现了这次会议上有一个新的就市场亮点吧，或者是新的一个主题，就是我发现在我们之前我们谈到了海工的是吧？在 BW 的我看来介绍了海工的一些业务，我觉得这有可能是一个机会。 是吧？以前我们觉得海工风险很大，现在看来可能就是也不一定，也可能是一个机会。那么接下来呢，我觉得在这个新能源的船舶上，也可能还有一些机会，因为老的船舶还是要面临着这个市场的一个淘汰，在这个严格的环境监管政策的这个影响下，可能要淘汰掉。那么新的船舶也可能是一个机会。 OK， 谢谢。
Thank you. 2024 preferred sector, non-preferred sector.
Okay. First, I agree with my three peers, about a prediction of next year. And back to your question, I'm kind of a positive people. Positive people only see opportunities. So I see a lot of opportunities next year, and. I think I don't like to be a fortune teller to see what the next year will be. How I will do in the cases of my work for next year. I only prepare for next year. To improve myself, improve the service of my company, to enhance the quality of service, and to be a good or better financial service to the servicer, to the market, and to my clients. That's the thing that will never change, no matter. Next year or in the coming future, yeah.
Thank you, James. I'd like to ask you. So I'd like to spin the question. We know that these people here are very hungry for new business. Do you get calls from ship owners these days for 2024, and more than what you used to maybe 3 or 4 months ago? Do you see more appetite from the owner side, given that the order book seems to be quite strong?
There's definitely an increased interest level for funding in 2024. There's more certainty for 2024, and again, the way that transactions used to be done, where you would take the client to sit across the table, to negotiate, to meet, to present, is now possible again, and that's something that we always recommend clients to do. Come visit, come present. Even if you don't have a deal, you can come and present yourself, establish their relationships. And I truly believe that this market is a long-term relationship-based market. Most of the transactions the esteemed guests here are done are repeat transactions with clients, because they've shown them that they can support them. But yeah, back to 2024, clients are now, again, I think Martin up here on the panel before, this is a FPSO is a typical type of transaction that will be fit into the Chinese market over the years to come, but it's going to take time because it's new and it's different. But that doesn't make it bad. That actually just makes it a good opportunity to do. So this type of transactions is back, and clients are certainly calling on that.
So in the past, there used to be a delta, a difference between debt financing and leasing. We've seen that this delta has become smaller. It seems that the product has evolved a lot. I presume that this is a result from what has happened, given that there's stiff competition. But I wanted to ask you, do you see, who do you see as your main competitor out there? Is it Japanese leasing, Taiwanese banks, Western banks? Who do you see as your main competitor? Maybe Channing.
Okay. Be honest, from my personal experience, and maybe also from the the business portfolio of our BOCOM Leasing, I think for our companies, the major competitors are still the traditional international the ship finance banks from Europe, from the US. Because we can see that a lot of the traditional loan banks, they come back since the pandemic, since the COVID. So there are more competitions. But why we are still preferable, I think, for a lot of ship owners, I think the Chinese leasing companies, Chinese lessors, keep growing in the past 10 years after all of us entered in the international market. So we try to understand, to thinking about our business more and more in the way of shipping, not only banking. So we will try to provide more flexibility, not only the cost or the leverage, but also the flexibilities. I think this is more suitable for most of the ship owners. So I think this is the main competitors. Yeah.
Ling?
I think domestically, the leasing houses are clearly very active. Although we are seeing a lot of newcomers into the market, I think the Chinese financial leasing market in the shipping sector is getting, that's my gut feel or my observation, I think it's getting more and more concentrated to the top 5 to top 10 leasing houses. I do not see actually the newcomers actually quickly getting up the market share immediately. And internationally, I think, like Changzhen said, the competition is still mainly from the Western banks. But I think the relationship between the Chinese leasing houses and the Western banks is actually more than pure competition. It's actually manifold. Obviously, sometimes we seek financing from the Western banks, for one thing. And the other thing is that when we take on board new clients, a very good or one of the best, quickest reference points is their banking groups and banking relationship that provides us with a very good reference to their credit worthiness or the credit strengths. So I think the relationship between us and Western banks is actually manifold. And I think going forward, because the funding, given the interest rate hikes, the massive hikes, I think the treasury side and the leasing side needs to work more and more closely. So I do see more and more collaboration opportunities between us and the Western banks, because if we can actually package a transaction together, it actually becomes one solution for the client, and it's actually a very stable and reliable solution for the maturity, until the maturity of the transaction. So it gives value to the clients.
Yeah, and you've done this with ECA-backed financing,
Exactly.
very successfully,
Yeah.
award-winning transactions. Mr. Yuan?
说起这个做航运业务，那么我是应该是从08年开始做航运业务，当时是在交银租赁，我在交银做了4年，然后到的普银租赁，那么多长时间了？15年了，15年。那么我这15年当中，我一个重要的工作其实就是在研究我们跟西方的银行有哪些不一样的地方，什么是他们的强项，什么是他们的弱项，什么又是我们的突破点。那么经过了这么多年，我得出的结论是，所有的对手没有别人，就是我们自己。这个姚明去 NBA 的时候，有人问他你怎么适应这个市场？你觉得你的这个竞争对手给你带来怎样的压力？我记得姚明说过一句话，不太好翻啊。他强有他强，清风拂山岗；他横有他横，明月照大江。我觉得我的对手就是我们自己，好吧？谢谢。
Thank you. Wang Zhao?
Yeah, I totally agree with Mr. Yan. Be a good player. Don't blame the game. don't believe your enemy, right? Just do yourself, prove yourself. I can't agree with you more. And in fact, yes, I also agree that all the so-called competitors, in fact, are kind of co-workers, to us, because we have the same goal, to serve the market, to supply our product, to meet my clients' demand. So in this aspect, we are all the same. We are all co-workers, but we have different product and different internal policy. So no competition. And in the previous answers, Western banks I mentioned several times, and I worked in treasury department of AVIC Leasing for 1 year. So in that year, I worked a lot of deals with Western banks, like Mr. Logan, right? Like Western banks always, not a competitor, but also, in fact, this forum is a forum for cooperation, right? We also not only cooperation with the market, with my clients, but also with Western banks. So to me and to AVIC Leasing, no competition, but cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you. James, I'd like to ask you, I mean, from what you hear from the ship owners, is it mostly from the banks? And we've seen that the terms that are being offered are very different to what the leasing houses were offering maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Do you see that the ship owners are receptive to that change and they're willing to have a discussion?
I think what we've seen has changed over the last, I'd say, 3-4 years, is that the Chinese lessors are now, in fact, competing head-to-head with the Western banks on things that they didn't used to compete on. It's higher credit quality for lower margins. And whereas a while back it was Chinese leasing was known as high leverage at a slightly higher cost, which on the mixed cost of capital is still competitive. Now you are looking at 60% loan to values, again, competing in low margin areas, basically trying to put a lower loan on something against a lower margin. 6 years ago, that didn't exist. It didn't matter for the lessor whether it was high leverage or low leverage. They needed to make their minimum return. There's a shift there now, and it's more risk adjusted. And where this is going forward, I think it's going to create a market where the big lessors go after the big credit qualities, and the newcomers that have a higher cost of capital will have to go after the more traditional model of higher leverage or different type of assets in order to attract business, because there's a lot of appetite.
Yeah, and you spoke earlier about the call options being exercised. So I wanted to ask you, we have seen a number of leases being repaid. That's not only exclusive to the leasing world. We've seen banks being fully prepaid. But how do each of you deal with this issue? Is it something that cannot be dealt with? Is it possible an opportunity to do something new?
Don't pick up the phone.
Don't pick up the, yeah, okay. Channing, would you like to start?
Okay. Frankly speaking, definitely we have a lot of payback, purchase back in the past 2-3 years, and also even this year. But I didn't see a lot of such kind of payback was driven by because of the cost or interest. Most of the payback because of the assets, transaction, the asset sales. Because in the past 2-3 years, the assets market is very hot. So many SMPs, and also driven by some owners pay back because they just want to be deleveraged because they got so much cash. Yeah, so much cash from the market. So so far I don't see this is a big problem for us at least. Thank you.
Okay, Ling.
We like to keep our portfolio stable. So for this very high quality clients, of course, it would not be our choice to actually ask them for the prepayment because we like to keep this portfolio. But we take a very pragmatic approach towards this kind of requests. Obviously, the starting position is the documentation. We look at what the document has to say, but it's more than that. The wider one is the relationship, because under some circumstances, for example, even if the documentation does not allow purchase option or prepayment, but if the client really wants to sell the ship, for example, of course we listen to what the client has to say, and we are very relationship driven, because what we have learned in the industry is that the relationship is really the most important thing to do business for shipping clients. So we will take a very open approach. We will discuss with the clients, but we will try to discuss with the client what we want and what we can do and what we cannot do. And we try to find the best the time for the prepayment, whether it's partial prepayment or whole prepayment. So for us, under some circumstances, in exchange for the prepayment, we try to encourage the client to give us the first choice when it comes to the new businesses, so that we can actually take the relationship forward. So we try a variety of things in order to keep the clients, because we do not want to lose them. But we, of course, try to be accommodating. We listen to what they have to say and try our best to help.
Yeah, so it's like renewing the relationship on better terms. I should propose this to my wife, Mr. Yang.
这个当我们看到客户在执行这个执行这个购回船的选择的时候，那么他们很多情况下是付了费用的，所以我们损失了一部分规模，但是实际上我们获得了一部分收益。当然，这个费用可能是有一定的期限啊，有可能是5年之内有，3年之内有，它会有一定的期限。总体来讲呢，我觉得这是一个市场行为。那么我们每个人都要应对市场的变化，也就是说，我们所做的呢，就是在原来我们如果已经是在合同上已经约定好了，我们没什么别的可说的，那我们就遵从我们的约定。那么客户愿意执行，我们就执行就行了。但是我相信呢，就是通过这样的，就是我们信守我们的承诺，客户也会对我们的这种信守承诺的行为会更加认可。我觉得大家长远的合作实际上是得到了加强。
Yeah, I agree with Ms. Ling, and the end of bring back is not the end of the current case, but the new beginning of the potential cases. Absolutely, relationship lasts forever and prolongs the cooperation. So, if my client, call me for the bring back, I pick up the phone. Thank you.
Okay. And do you see this renewal of terms?
Yeah, it comes back to what I said earlier with relationship, right? And what Ling said as well. This is a very relationship-based business, and I think ship owners also understand that even though they're repaying, there will be coming a time again when they will need funding, right? I think Scorpio is the company that said it the best. There's a period where you rely on sale-leaseback, and they draw a lot, and then there's a time to repay it, and they're very clear that they'll be back soon again, but when that time is, we don't know. So when you do pick up the phone, there's an opportunity to say that, yeah, maybe we can get the first shot on the next one, or maybe the next one is in a couple of years or a couple of months. You don't know. But again, it comes back to what's the relationship between the lessor and lessee, and of course, when they come back in a year's time, you'll be there.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask a question to everybody, because I only have time for one last question. In the past, I remember being on these panels speaking about leasing companies wanting to do more operating leases, becoming more ship owners. We have seen real operating leases happen. Some people have reduced their exposure. Some people are doing more. Anybody wants to comment on that? Are operating leases on the table?
Well, it's high asset classes, so be careful. Huh?
I'm just asking. I mean, it has happened before. I know that the values are high in most sectors, there are some not many opportunities, you know, and and you guys have a very good relationship with the Chinese shipyards as well. Do you see more of that happening?
I don't mind picking up that question, but I don't think I'm really in the best position to answer this, because the operating lease portfolio in our portfolio is only about 5%. So, but we like to maintain this kind of the percentage, because the operating lease structures actually really helped us. Especially when the market was very strong and when the margin is getting squeezed. So it's a nice combination of the traditional financial lease structure. But I think one thing I like to comment is the fact that the operating lease structure, even it sounds very simple, but actually it is a very powerful structure. It can actually bring in a lot of variations. It doesn't have to be 100% market driven. You can actually build in ceilings and floors into the structure. You can be index linked, but at the same time, you can also offer a fixed charter for a certain period, probably for shorter duration of the charter. And it actually relies on a lot of cooperation. For the existing operating lease structures, we are very grateful that we actually get a lot of strong support from our partners, and they actually help us achieve what we can do. Because as a financial lessor, our hands are really tight. There are many things that we cannot possibly be doing. So we are grateful that we have good partners. And I think even if the current asset value is high, I do not exclude ourselves from opportunities. I think there are still ways to do finance lease, to do operating lease, as long as we keep it at a certain level. I think for us it's going to be between 5 to 10% of the overall portfolio.
Thank you, Ling. Anyone else you want?
Okay, maybe I just add something from the perspective of BOCOM leasing. I think similar as Ms. Zhou just mentioned, in our portfolio, the ship finance portfolio, we also have a proper level, a percentage of the assets was pure operating leasing. Actually, we are the financial leasing companies. We will. To be the real ship owners is not our target, actually. We ordered some vessels in the past couple of years, but most of the vessels was supported by some long-term time charters with the end users or the top operators in the market. So we never placed any orders with without the time charters, maybe just a few of the Kamsarmax. But we want to build up our operating team with these orders, because this is important for leasing. Even the financial leasing companies, you need to have a technical team to support. If you, in some very bad market, you can have the confidence, ability to take back your vessels, some non-perform vessels. Fortunately, we don't. Such kind of situation never happened. Yeah, that's a word. So, but anyway, we need to have this ability. So, the door from the door to the business door to the pure operating leasing is still open from BOCOM leasing, because but that's also based on some selected segments. And also on the basis of some long-term time charters with end users or some top operators, because the operating leasing, the real operating leasing, you need a big team to support. You can imagine that a ship owners even have 10 vessels, 5 vessels, how many people there? But for our leasing company, I think no company of us have more than 40 people. I mean the shipping teams. So we are still open the door, but not will be aggressive.
And I can say that I would 100% support doing true operating leases where you give a time charter and to build the internal knowledge on the asset and operation of the asset. Where we don't quite see operating lease making sense is where it's basically a finance lease with options, but then no obligation at the end.
But that's not the real. This is
No,
not the,
no, exactly.
Yeah, it's not a real
but
operating lease, yeah.
that's the type of operating lease I don't understand, because that's giving away the upside but taking all the risk on the downside. So yes, it's called operating lease, but they come in many different forms.
Yeah. We lawyers call them hybrid. Yeah, because they are not real operating. You know, the residual value still lies with that. Yeah, but here we're talking about pure. You know, where the residual value lies. Anyone else? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.